So let's talk now about what to consider when we're deciding whether or not to exercise on the HCG protocol. Basically, I think it comes down to two questions that you need to ask yourself. One, when you're on HCG and you exercise, do you feel fine? Good even. If that's the case, that might be a good indicator that for you, exercise with HCG is fine. It's probably even a beneficial thing. Second question, if you exercise on HCG, do you feel really crappy? Do you feel depressed? Do you feel starving? Do you feel really grumpy? Do you have a lot of food cravings? Do you feel extremely fatigued? If you feel those types of things after you exercise while on HCG, that's probably a good indicator that it's not in your best interest to do that. So as you can see, there's two different ways that you may feel when exercising on HCG. And that's why there really is not a yes or no answer when it comes to exercise on HCG. People are very different. So let's talk about why exercise on HCG can be really beneficial if your health allows it. I have seen a lot of people do perfectly fine exercising on HCG. And this includes both fitter people and more unfit people. It appears that there may be a lot of people out there who are simply overweight. They don't have maybe any other real health complications. They're just overweight. So aside from being overweight, they're pretty much fine. And so they can exercise on HCG and do great. And that's wonderful. I've also seen some people post in the forums who are like dance instructors or workout instructors. And these ones, that's their job. They kind of have to continue teaching their classes and doing it. But they have found that they too have been able to do their classes, despite how active it is, and do the HCG protocol no problem. So obviously there are quite a number of people who can combine the two with no issue, whether they're fit or not fit. And the benefits to this are it could definitely help you preserve more of your lean muscle. Which you don't technically lose a lot of lean muscle that you need. Let me put it this way: you don't lose muscle that you need for the most part on HCG, but it definitely could help you preserve it more so. And even for guys, it appears that on occasion guys can actually gain muscle while on HCG, which is pretty crazy. So definitely that's a huge benefit for people who are concerned with that. Additionally, exercise often makes people feel good. It releases endorphins. So if you're able to combine the two and it creates a sense of well-being in you and helps you stick to the protocol, that's another way that exercise can really benefit you. And you might end up losing more fat as well because you are burning calories. So those are all good reasons why, if your health allows it, it could be a very good thing to add in. So what can you expect then if you do choose to combine exercise and HCG? There's three things that I want to just mention, and just because if you do choose to do this, it's important to know these things so that you don't inadvertently get discouraged, because on the surface it could seem like the exercise is harming your round, but that's really not the case. So let's talk about the three things that you need to keep in mind if you do exercise on HCG. So the first one is expect slower losses. I see this pretty much across the board when I watch different videos and read on the forums. If you exercise on HCG, you're most likely going to retain some water. In fact, Dr. Simeons said that in his original protocol too, in Pounds and Inches. He really didn't say not to exercise, but he did mention that there would be resulting water retention. And what this translates into is what appears to be slower losses on the scale. You might see 0 days or days where you actually gain weight. So it's important to keep in mind you're not gaining weight, you're not losing weight, you're still losing just as much fat, possibly even more, but what's going on is that your body is just retaining some water from the exercise. So as long as you keep that in your head, that will help you to deal with what you see on the scale. Do keep in mind though, if your weight loss is being affected and that's combined with feeling any of those negative symptoms that I mentioned, like feeling really crappy, having food cravings, feeling really fatigued, that's a different story. You know, in that case, maybe your body really isn't losing as much fat as it could be. Your body might be holding on to it because you're just stressing your body out far too much, you know. So do keep that in mind. But aside from that, if you're healthy, you know, you're feeling good with exercise, but the scale seems like it's a little slower than other people, don't worry about that. You know, it's just water, it's just your body processing things. If you do end up gaining muscle, again, that will, you know, change how the scale appears. So, point number 2, you may need to increase your calories a little bit if you exercise. I've seen this quite a bit, and it makes reasonable sense. I'm not exactly sure how many extra calories you should eat if you exercise. I'm guessing somewhere between 100 and 250 extra calories, maybe in order, you know, depending on the length and intensity of the exercise that you do. So, but do keep that in mind. It's possible that if you exercised with the 500 calorie diet, you might feel crappy, but if you exercised with a 700 calorie diet, you might feel fine. So that's just another thing to keep in mind, possibly experiment with. Some ideas, I think, as far as what to eat extra would be an extra protein, perhaps like some egg whites, or perhaps like some whey protein. You have to be careful though with the, you know, protein powders. Definitely check the ingredients for weird starches and sugars and stuff, but I definitely would give thought to that if you're gonna exercise. And I think ideally you would want to eat that either before or after a workout, especially after, possibly before bed. Those are just some ideas. You can probably do even a little more research about that online, but definitely give consideration to increasing your calories a little bit if you exercise. The third point is that you will likely need to decrease the intensity of your typical workout when you're on HCG. You know, you may be used to working out a certain length of time or a certain intensity or a certain amount of weights, and most likely you will find that you cannot keep up that same pace or that same heaviness as before. Your body definitely is doing a lot more while on HCG, and even though you probably can successfully combine the two, you're gonna need to reduce, you know, amp down what you're doing. In fact, I read a little forum thread while I was researching, you know, to write this article, and I thought the way this one woman put it was really good. I hope you don't mind, I'm gonna just read it real quick. She put it nicely. It's that your body has no sugar to work out, and the use of the fat for fuel is not as immediate. Before HCG, for example, I could do 35 minutes on the EFX machine with no problem. Today I did only 7 minutes. It's still a benefit to me, I feel better, and I still get the endorphins. So she's just laying it out there. To her, it's worth it to her to continue the exercise, and she feels good. She knows she's getting good results. But at the same time, she's not able to do nearly as much as usual. So kind of being aware of that, and you also need to realize that that's not how you're gonna be when you finish the HCG. For some of, you know, I'm gonna include myself in this boat if I were able to exercise. If you all of a sudden see your endurance level or your ability with weights to drop like significantly, that would kind of like freak me out, you know, like, oh my goodness, I'm getting really not strong, or I'm losing a lot of muscle, when that's really not the case. What it is that you're on HCG, you're eating very few calories, your body is using your fat for food instead of regular food, which is kind of different. So it's just a lot going on. So when it's over, and I can really attest to this, when it's over, you're gonna get right back to what you were doing. I start exercise as soon as P3 hits, day 1. And literally within like 1 week, I feel back to my old self at CrossFit, and I weigh less, you know, so in a way it's like I'm actually stronger. So that's something you don't wanna worry about. You have to keep all these things in your head, because a lot of what will throw us off is not necessarily what's actually happening to our body. It's the mind games, you know, that we play with ourselves, the things that we worry about that are not even real, you know. So anyway, just thought I'd mention that.